Hello and welcome back to the channel. I've had the bike for about 2 years or 9,000 miles now, and I've made videos about maintaining it and going on trips and all sorts, but never actually a review. So by popular demand, here's my review of the Honda CB125F. What's it like to ride? Is it fast enough? Is it underpowered? And is it just for learners, or could you keep this as your long-term bike? As a 125, it's pretty compact. You know, there's no problem parking it in town or storing it in a garage or moving by hand or U-turns and that sort of thing. You can often park it like a bicycle in a lot of places, so it's very convenient in town. And it's pretty lightweight at 117 kilos. It's 12 kilograms lighter than the previous model, partly because they've replaced the separate starter motor and alternator with a single brushless AC unit, which I'll tell you more about later. But it's light enough that I can lift one end at a time, if not the whole bike. And it's easy to handle, you know, you don't feel you're going to drop it when you're getting on and off the bike. The seat height is 790 millimeters, and I'm 5'10", and I can very easily stand with both feet on the ground. That's very reassuring as a learner, but now with a bit more experience I would prefer a slightly higher seat, just so your legs aren't bunched up when you're riding longer distances, but you can't have it both ways. The engine's a 125cc Euro 5 air-cooled single cylinder with a maximum power of 8 kilowatts and 5 manual gears. It's relatively simple, and in my book, simple is good. It makes it easy to maintain yourself, or if you're paying someone else, it'll be cheaper. There's less to go wrong. It's quiet too. I'm one of those people that doesn't really subscribe to the loud pipes save lives philosophy. I think what saves lives is bright colours and not riding like a complete fool. But here's what it sounds like. It also starts beautifully every time. Like I said, they've replaced the starter motor and alternator with one single brushless AC unit. I believe it even rewinds the crank to the intake stroke, so it's not wasting power on the compression or exhaust or power strokes. It's just literally one moment the engine is not running, and then you click the starter and the next it is. Listen. This is testing from cold, first thing in the morning, haven't started the engine yet. Let's just show you a couple other things. You've got a digital dashboard here that shows you obviously speed, fuel economy, remaining range, and there's also a gear indicator, which is nice for learners. There's a green eco light here that lights up when you're not pushing the engine too hard. Some people find that annoying. You can turn it off. We've got 18-inch wheels front and back with a disc brake on the front and drum brake on the back. The brakes are linked, so when you push down on the rear brake, you also get a bit of front brake as well. Again, good for learners, but you might not love it if you're keeping the bike long term. There is a little bit of storage space under the seat. I've made a separate video about my toolkit here, but you know, you can see you could fit a book or a t-shirt or a toothbrush or something, but not really any luggage, just a few tools. I'm sure you've seen other pictures that the bike comes with a grab handle here for passengers. This GV rack for the top box, and the side racks here for the panniers I've added later. There's another video you can watch of me doing just that. Okay, here's what you really came for. What's it like to ride? Let's start it up and find out. So I would say it accelerates pretty much like a small family car, something like a Honda Jazz or a Fiesta or something, which is enough, but it's just not like a rocket ship, and a lot of bikers are used to that. So I could use a little more power if it was available, but it's certainly enough for what I need. But yeah, so acceleration, something like a small family car. Let's give it a little try. Ready? That's about as much as I need on this road. Is it underpowered? Well, if you are used to riding a 1 litre bike or a 650 or something, of course you're going to say yes, it is. But is it fun? Yes, very much. I know a lot of bikers who have ridden their other halves or their kids 125 or something, or they bought it for someone else and they've said it was really fun, refreshing change. Is a 650 more fun than a 125? Sure. But is a 125 more fun than no bike at all? Much, much more. So I do think there's a danger, good morning, of thinking, oh, I found a good thing, I want more of it. Like, that first sip of beer is just beautiful, but the second one, it's still nice. The third one, it's okay, and by the end, it's not the same. So don't go thinking just because you love your first motorbike that you've got to have more and more, because you get to some ridiculous vehicle that nobody really needs. Now, a lot of people say that on a bike, power is a safety feature, and I can totally see what they mean, that if you're at a junction, the cars can't hit you even if they try, even if they try to, if they can't even catch you. If you can pull away from the junction before any car, then you can get yourself out of trouble. I would argue that you need to not get yourself in trouble, and your road positioning and your signaling your intentions and being visible is just as important. But I can totally see their point that power is a safety feature. A couple of times on the motorway or a fast dual carriageway, and a car has pulled towards me because they haven't seen me, and my only option was to brake, whereas I could have had the option to accelerate away. But it's agile and nimble and easy to handle on these roads. It almost feels like a bicycle at low speeds. It's an upright, traditional style of bike, so your feet are underneath you rather than tucked way back, which I like very much. If you want a sportier, faster bike, the CB125F is the more angled position, and it's a faster bike. So it's absolutely lovely for A roads and B roads and even dual carriageways. You can take it on the motorway, it's just not that much fun. But hey, let's give it a go. Not everybody likes this kind of riding, but the 125 is great for towns and cities like this. Okay, how does it do on the motorway? Let's just make life feel a little bit safer and we'll find out. Woo, windy today. Okay, can you use it on the motorway? Let's find out. Right, my throttle is now pinned at full power, and I see us getting up to 55, 60. Feeling a little vibration in the handlebars now, and the engine note sounds pretty high. Pardon me while I just focus on driving safely. Yeah, so I reckon with the wind, 70 is going to be about our top speed. Let's give some more room. You can ride it at 70. and maybe 75 if you're in the tucked position or you're going downhill or the wind's behind you, but it's kind of irrelevant because you really don't want to. You don't want to ride it at 70 because it's vibrating so much and sounding so loud, and I'm sure it's not doing the engine too much good to do that for a long time. So you can go on the motorways. I mean, especially if the traffic, like the traffic now, you can go at 60 and that's fine. But if it's one of those really fast bits where everyone's going at 70 or more, you're just going to be being overtaken constantly, which isn't ideal for safety. But this is fine. 60 miles an hour, quite happy. Oh, that reminds me, if you do decide to stick with the 125, even though you've got your full category A license, you just have to be prepared for a lot of people to say, oh, what bike are you going to get when you pass your test? Okay, let's go find a quiet place to talk about the costs. Right, now for the part of the review that you'll either find the most exciting or the least exciting and nothing in between. Honda claimed that this bike can get 188 miles per gallon, which is an incredible fuel economy. I haven't quite got that. I'm averaging something like 160, maybe 150 miles per gallon. But that's still incredible. That's still 3 times better than a decent car. The fuel tank is 11 litres. This is the fuel tank, that could take you 400 miles. In fact, I thought about trying to get to Paris on 1 tank of fuel, which I technically could, but I didn't quite feel like taking the chance. Other costs are much cheaper too, though. Road tax and insurance and maintenance are going to be a lot more economical on this than a bigger bike. As for the price, you're talking 3,000, 3,200 new from Honda, and that's a little low compared to some offerings from KTM or Yamaha or Kawasaki. But it's a simpler but a good quality bike. For example, the CBR125 is a little more complicated. It's got a water-cooled radiator and more disc brakes, bits and pieces like that, and that's about £4,400. Now, there are cheaper brand new bikes, of course, like the Lex Moto, or we went to the Mutt shop here in Birmingham, which looked really cool. But what you find is the second-hand prices of Honda bikes stay much higher. So you may buy the 125 to learn on, and then when you come to sell it, you might find that whereas the Lex Moto will only get 75 or 50% of its price, the Honda, you're pretty much getting what you paid for it. I'm seeing bikes that cost £3,000 new, selling after a couple of years for 2,900 or something, which is crazy. Honda's also really known for its reliability, and how important that is to you varies. If you commute every day and you don't have a car, and come rain or shine, and if the bike lets you down, you're going to be late and probably lose your job. Reliability is really important, but if you take it out on the weekends, on a Sunday afternoon, and the worst that'll happen is you'll have to wait for an hour if you break down, maybe reliability is not such a big deal for you. Right, let's hit the road again while I tell you about some of the things I don't like about the CB125. Uh-oh. Okay, so things that I don't like quite so much about the 125. First off, I'm going to say power and top speed, which I realise is a stupid thing to say because it is a 125. But if you're keeping it long term, you would occasionally appreciate a bit more power to get away from a junction or to get up to 70 on the motorway more easily and be able to cruise along or overtake someone without it taking ages and putting you in danger for longer. But you really can't complain about that if you're getting these crazy high fuel economy figures and all the other benefits. Number two, second thing I don't like quite so much about the CB125F, it's not great for a pillion passenger. We've tried it out, you can take a passenger, and I know in other countries they're probably carrying a family of 6 on the back of this thing, but it's not super comfortable. You could go to the local coffee shop, but you really wouldn't want to go on a long trip with 2 people. And the third thing I'd mention is the rear drum brake. It is adequate for this weight of bike, and it's matched to the performance of the bike, but 2 disc brakes would have been nice. And you've got a little bit of experience, I think you'd prefer separate brakes rather than linked brakes. But again, it all comes as part of the package of the proposition and the bike that this is. Number 4, there are just a couple of areas where you can see that the quality is not the very best that Honda has to offer, particularly in the paint underneath. I'll show you a cutaway here, but not long after having the bike, just a few months, I started to notice a bit of rust on the center stand because the simple spray-on paint has chipped away. I want to do something about that in a future video. I'm going to Dremel that paint off and replace it with Hammerite. And on the center stand as well. But, you know, that's irritating. The exhaust too is painted, and the black matte paint on there chipped off pretty quickly, and I thought it looked a bit tatty. It never even occurred to me that you would paint an exhaust bike, but that's what it is. And then number 5 is the seat height. Being 5'10", I would appreciate a slightly higher seat and having your legs slightly more extended underneath you rather than tucked up. And now I realise, once again, that totally goes against the bike being very, very learner friendly. It's not a big deal, but I'd say if you're taller than me, you might appreciate a taller bike before long. But that's it. That's all I could think of. The only reasons I can think of for not liking this bike, and frankly, none of them is particularly fair. They're all to do with the bike being a 125 or being learner friendly or built to the price point that it is. I suppose what I'm saying is, if you intend to keep a 125, either because your license only allows it, or you just want a small capacity bike, but you want a nice small capacity bike, this might not be it if you're prepared to pay more money. Okay, let's just look for a quiet place to finish up. Okay, let's find a spot and talk about recommendations. Here's a good spot. Okay, let's wrap up some thoughts. First of all, is this a good bike for a learner? Well, obviously it is. That's why riding schools all over the place buy them. When I turned up for my training at my riding school, there were 3 of them out on the tarmac already. But can you keep it as a long-term bike after you've passed your test? Well, I'm living proof that you can. The question is, do you want to? I mean, there are some people who definitely won't want this bike. If you need to carry 2 people on a regular basis, or if you regularly do long journeys and you want to be able to go on motorways and go fast, this bike won't be for you. But I guess in a sense, if you're going to have to learn on a 125 anyway, the real question is, should you buy a nice new bike like this, newish now, or just any old second-hand 125 and see how you get on? Being a Honda, the reason I was confident to buy it was that I knew it would retain its resale value, so if I sell it now, I'm still going to get most of the value I paid for it. But in the meantime, as a new bike, you had that guarantee, and I knew it had been looked after well since the start because I did it myself. You might also be interested in the 2014 to 2019 model if you want to save a little bit of money. It's a tiny bit heavier, and it doesn't have the digital dash, but it does have a odometer rev counter, which is nice, and this one doesn't. Either way, you can't go far wrong. The question is just what kind of style of riding you're going to want to do afterwards. If you are sticking with the 125 for license reasons, and you like a more racing style of bike and you'd like to go faster, the CBR125 is faster. If you want to go more off-road, you're going to need a different kind of bike. But for me, for now at least, this is just perfect. Right, I hope that was helpful. If you've got one of these, or you're interested in finding out what it would be like to maintain and look after, please do look at some of my other videos. Let me know if there's anything I've missed, if I can answer any questions. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Hello. What do you think? Stick with the 125 or upgrade to the bigger bike? You don't care. I never mind filming in front of the locals. It's fine.